the second he gets elected, who's the first person to visit? Bibi. Then he comes again. Then he comes again. And it's like, well, tell me why they're our most important ally. Why is the overwhelming majority of the U.S. Congress taking money from a foreign unregistered lobby? Like, what? Like, what is the answer?
From APEC.
Why is that okay? And they want to prevent you from asking that question because there really isn't a good answer other than shut up. That's a total betrayal.
I think we can see why all the Zionists are trying to cancel and attack Tucker Carlson right now, because in this clip he is saying that the US government has betrayed American citizens for the sake of Israel, this rogue regime overseas, and by the way, we're paying for their genocide. So let's watch this. It's really fiery. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
So now, having done it, what do you think of him?
About Fuentes?
Yeah.
I think it's so funny. I did not make Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is he's just enormously gifted as a broadcaster. I mean, it's unbelievable. His talent is. I mean, I have done that job, not the Holocaust jokes, obviously, but I mean, I've sat in front of a camera and talked. He's really good at it. He has not been canceled. He can't be canceled. So I kind of think of Fuentes in terms of like, what place does he occupy in? What does he say about our society? And I'm not making excuses for anybody else's views. I'm just saying, as a factual matter, if this is the most popular person among young men, young white men, then we need to like start thinking about why that is, and we need to reflect on what we have collectively done to young men, which is destroy them, actually. And no one wants to say that because no one wants to take any responsibility at all for anything ever. No one ever wants to repent. They all want to cast stones. They don't see the plank in their own eye. This is including me. It's just humans are like this. And they want to be like, Nazi. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay, great. But like, how did this happen?
Why are they listening to him?
Kind of.
Can I ask you, so...
And part of the reason is because the Republican Party completely betrayed its voters by obsessing over Israel. That's just a fact. Like, what is this? It's a country of 9 million people. I'm not against Israel. I visited on vacation. I've always liked Jerusalem. Is my favorite city in the world. I'm not against Israel, but like, why is that the center of our conversation?
Yeah, a lot of the Zionists say, you guys are just so obsessed with Israel. It's Israel, 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 as if that's just some inorganic thing we're saying for our own recreation. No, it's because of the clear obsession that our government has with Israel, with having Netanyahu come into the White House, 4 times so far in this presidency, getting sucked into a war versus Iran, clearly at the behest of Israel, after not only trying to negotiate with Iran for a new JCPOA-like agreement, but also campaigning on the platform of no new wars. It's just inescapable. And yeah, Nick Fuentes, they tried to cancel him. They took him off YouTube, took him off Twitter for a while. He's gotten debanked, but he still has accumulated a huge audience and totally speaks to a lot of disenfranchised, males especially. And he's built himself up despite all these attempts to cancel him. Tucker speaks to a different demographic. He speaks to a generally older demographic. He's arguably the most influential conservative in the world, but you're asking a lot when it's like, yeah, you can't platform or talk to Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. They're trying to build an Overton window that doesn't exist in the culture anymore. We've moved beyond the Israel first mentality in this country.
It's 9 million people, no resources. The only strategic value Israel has is the extent to which we have to defend Israel. But take that out and there's no value at all. I'm not against it. I'm just saying, like, we're a country of 350 million people. We're the most important country in the world. And our politics is, and practically every member of Congress spends all day talking about Israel. And if you're a normal person, you're like, I don't hate Israel. I certainly don't hate Jews. But what the hell is this?
But wait.
And then it's like, shut up, you can't talk about it.
But wait,
why?
Clarify what you mean, because when you were winding up on, the Republican Party has abandoned young men, I was with you. Both parties have abandoned young men, especially the Democrats, though, for so many other reasons. But why Israel? You're saying the focus?
Because all the
focus
energy.
Is over there.
Yeah, I mean, look, Trump is elected. I campaigned for him and I love Trump. I just want to say that. And I talked to him the other day, and I love Trump. And I've known him for 25 years, and I could write many books on Trump, and they would be positive, basically. But the second he gets elected, who's the first person to visit? Bibi. Then he comes again. Then he comes again. And it's like, the energy of the administration and of the entire U.S. government is all of a sudden about Iran. A war with Iran? Really? How many people do you know who've been killed by Iran in the United States in your lifetime? 0, because that's the number. How many?
Yeah, that is 0. And guess how many people Israel killed in 1967 in the USS Liberty attack? 34. And there's something like, I don't know, like 180 casualties outside of that. There are survivors today. Israel has killed more Americans than Iranians have killed. That's just a fact. And this is our greatest ally in the Middle East. Me and Tucker depart on this. I don't like Trump. I'm not a fan of Trump. I think it's, horrific to double down on defending Trump despite the fact that he is Israel first, that he represents the manifestation of these things that Tucker correctly points out about the Trump regime. Acknowledging the Golan Heights, moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem to preclude the possibility of a Palestinian state, shredding the JCPOA, getting into a war versus Iran, calling for his crimes, his corruption and fraud charges to be dropped by the Knesset, doubling down on the genocide and allowing Netanyahu to break the first ceasefire that he orchestrated. It's just too many things. You can't defend Trump after that if you're good on the Israel issue. But at the same time, I'm glad he speaks to an audience that does still like Trump, and maybe because of that, maybe because of his connection to Trump, they might start listening to that too. I get that not everyone's a libertarian on it, but that's my thoughts.
People who've died of a drug OD. Some. Maybe you have a nephew who did. So, what is this? I know you want to have regime change in Iran. I'm not mad at Israel at all. I'm not actually mad at Israel. I'm mad at our leaders for spending their time and my money focusing on someone else's country. And then I'm doubly mad because that's a total betrayal of the promise, which is your government works for you because you own the government, because it's a democratic republic. What the hell is going on? And then
Well, I think that's the optimistic Pollyanna way to look at it. It's clearly an oligarchy of some point. It's supposed to be a democratic republic, but I think those days are long gone because Benjamin Franklin stood there in Philadelphia in 1787 and said, hey, we have a republic if you can keep it, but I'm sorry, we couldn't keep it very long. And if you thought that it lasted to the progressive era, fair enough, but it's been gone especially since then. It just is. And AIPAC and the Israel lobby is the perfect example of that. Our sovereignty has been robbed, and Trump is one of our leaders. In fact, he's the he's the ultimate leader of the United States. So if you're enraged at our leaders over that, you should be, focusing some of your rage against Trump. But at the same time, there's nothing I disagree with Tucker other than that.
if you say anything about it, it's like, you're a Nazi, you're an anti-Semite. Well, actually, I'm not. And I'm in a really great place to say that because I'm really am not. And no matter how many times they say that, it doesn't bother me because in fact, by the way, I think they are attacking me because I'm pretty reasonable. Like, who would disagree with what I'm saying? Maybe you do. Okay, you do, but you disagree with what I'm saying, but what is the answer? Why would the US government spend all this time? No, it's a sincere question. Why is the overwhelming majority of the US Congress taking money from a foreign unregistered lobby? What?
It's the Israel lobby. It's their influence over our politics. And yeah, Tucker's right. No reasonable American would disagree with him on this. That's why they attack him. It's not because they truly believe he's an anti-Semite. That's part of their narrative to try to demonize him. It's not working, by the way, but it's because he's persuasive, because he has such a large following. That is why they lie about him. And, the word anti-Semitism is going the way of the word racism. Just shouting that as loud as you can, causing semantic change with that. Anti-Semitism is losing all meaning because of how commonly and misapplied that term is.
What is the answer?
From AIPAC.
Why is that okay? And they want to prevent you from asking that question because there really isn't a good answer other than shut up. And if that's the only answer, by my temperament and my age, I'm just not going to shut up because
Tucker,
that's not hate, it's sincere.
What
is that?
What do you make of the folks who say Israel is our most important ally in the Middle East? They're in a very tough neighborhood. They have our shared Western values. They have our back. We have their back. And that we have much more in common with the people in Israel than we do with some of these surrounding countries.
I would say, what are you talking about?
Pushing things like Sharia law, which I've heard you comment on.
Okay. What's happening in Gaza, which is the killing of civilians because They are related to terrorists. They've said that too. This is not a left-wing talking point. Have you read
You guys
what
are fiery
Israeli...
tonight.
It's just a fact. Read Ben-Gvir, Smotrich on this. These are sitting cabinet ministers in the current government saying, starve them out, kill them, kill their children. This is like a cabinet secretary in the current government in Israel saying this out loud. That is not Western, that's Eastern. That is totally incompatible with Western civilization. We don't punish the innocent, period, under any circumstances, or else we're as bad as the people we're fighting. And that, by the way, the US government has done the same, and I've complained about it a lot. And no one has ever called me names for criticizing my own government. So why is it verboten to criticize somebody else's government?
Exactly right. You get more flack for criticizing Israel than individual American states. And this happens on the left and the right. You know, a lot of liberals will boycott Texas. Maybe they don't have good gun laws or preferable abortion laws in their views. And right-wingers will cancel California and New York for the same issues on the other flip side. But if you criticize Israel, that puts new types of crosshairs on your back. He's just right about that. He's also right about what the Israeli government is saying about starving Palestinians. This is what Ben-Gvir has said. We know that. You know, he said it would be moral to starve 2 million Gazans. He's also gone on record to say, hey, this ceasefire, we got our hostages exchanged. Let's have Israeli settlements in Gaza now. They want to go back to it. This is not a pipe dream, propaganda scheme by Tucker. This is literally said by some of the closest leaders in Israel in this cabinet to Netanyahu. He said that basically the world won't let us starve them. Well, what's happened? The United States has allowed that. The United States has been involved in the ceasefire, but they allowed Israel to suppress aid into Gaza. So yeah, Tucker's 100% right. He just is.
Thousands of miles away. What the hell are you talking about?
That is a great question.
I just believe in the principle. And second, tell me why they're our most important ally. Right down the road, you've got countries that have like the bulk of the world's energy supply. That's not an important ally? What? If you're looking at foreign policy through the lens of what's good for America, you don't want to make unnecessary enemies. I like Israel for the 8th time. How many people have been there on vacation just because they like it? I have. I took my kids. I'm not against it. I don't want it to get hurt. But from a geostrategic point of view, your duty, if you're running the State Department or running the White House or a member of Congress, is to serve the people who elected you in your country. So you need to think seriously, as you do with your own children, what's good for them.
Exactly right. And that's the exact inverse of what diehard neocon Zionists like Ted Cruz say in their own words. Remember when Tucker interviewed Ted Cruz? Ted Cruz literally said, I made it my chief prerogative to be the most pro-Israel senator in the Senate as I entered into that institution. And then 3 minutes later, he's haranguing Tucker Carlson for being so obsessed with Israel and implying he's an anti-Semite because he said, oh, it's always about the Jews, you're so obsessed with Israel. After he said that, they project on the deepest levels imaginable. And of course, Tucker's totally right. That is the responsibility of an earnest patriot that's serving constituents, to put them first before this rogue foreign regime that doesn't serve our interests, that doesn't have our back, contrary to the argument that Megyn Kelly is raising. When has Israel had our back? Not whatsoever. They drag us into wars. They cause us to dump $25 billion into it since October 7th. About $350 billion in total, the biggest U.S. foreign aid recipient by far. There is no sense in this relationship. All we inherit from it is all of the enemies of Israel, which are plentiful in the region, by the way, and the others we pay off just not to go to war with Israel, like Jordan and Egypt, that are high-ranking U.S. foreign aid recipients as well because of that.
And one thing that's good for them is being allies with countries that have a lot of energy because it makes civilization run. That's why, et cetera, et cetera. So, that doesn't even make any sense.
Okay. I think we've covered the Israel thing.
Those are not Nazi views. Those are
No,
this
those
is
are
why
not
they
Nazi
hated
views.
Trump from day one. When he said America first, a lot of smart people thought, whoa, if you put America first, then you're going to put Israel second. And that's why they hated Trump. That's why they hate me. But most people in both parties, at least conceptually, will agree with that because there's no real argument against putting your own country first, because that's the purpose of your government.
Yeah, he's right about that. Of course, Trump's very pro-Israel leanings were pretty apparent from his first term, if you ask me. A lot of people that don't follow this closely didn't exactly see that. So we should have been a little bit more skeptical, I think, on the right side. I'll say I'm a radical right-wing libertarian on this. If we thought that he would betray what he had shown in his first term, I think we were all kidding ourselves. And, he's even gone beyond that now.
But here's my own view. So here we are, we're 20 minutes in, and we've already devoted a lot of time to the topic of Israel and whether somebody's an anti-Semite and all that. And I just feel like this is taking over the discussion on the right. And it shouldn't be. We have our own problems here at home. With all due respect, I care about Israel. I've given Israel a wide berth as it's conducted its response to the attack, the horrible attack that happened on it on 10/7. But it's been 2 years now. President Trump has managed to wrap this up for the time being, at least. And we really have our own problems that we need to worry about.
Yes, you think?
So let's talk about some of our problems.
Okay, so where Megyn Kelly gets this totally wrong, I think, is it is because of our own problems that this is such a glaring issue. People see the hypocrisy of prioritizing Israel over those domestic woes, over those domestic problems. They are plentiful. It's inflation and debt and healthcare costs and, all the things that go into this country, the hate speech codes being rewritten to serve Israel. Israel spills into our domestic policy. And the Israel issue itself is causing a schism on the right. I'm sorry, Megyn, you just don't get to sit this one out. You can be a fence sitter as long as you want, but it's like fence sitting when the U.S. government was drafting the Patriot Act and the DHS and, rolling out the 20-year occupations of Afghanistan and Iraq, or being silent as the COVID regime imposed religious worship restrictions on Americans, curfews, civil liberties violations, business closures. Cuomo in New York set policies that literally killed old people. So you had grandparents dying alone without being able to access their families. These absurd, crooked mask mandates and vaccine mandates. You yelled, "My body, my choice," some circles of the Uniparty did, and then in the next breath, authorized, mandated, and pushed and propagandized Americans to inject a big pharma product with legal impunity from any damages that they might cause, by the way, on the American populace. If you were an employee of a medium or large business, I'm sorry, you don't get to sit this one out. It's too palpable. It's too influential. It has too many ramifications for America, especially as AIPAC and the Israel lobby's influence is just so glaring. And it seems like every president, regardless of who it is, chooses to side with this foreign regime. It's not the only one. It's also Saudi Arabia and Ukraine. We talk about that a lot in this program, too. The blockade in Yemen is because of wanting to placate the Saudis. 500,000 people have died there. Trump used one of his sole presidential vetoes ever in his first term to keep that going. But this Israel issue just can't be sat out on, Megyn. I'm sorry. It's too big of an issue. Americans are noticing, and it's spilling over into everything. It's spilling over into loss of faith in Trump's approval ratings. It's spilling into the Epstein cover-up. Epstein had very close associations with the Israeli government. Ari Ben-Menashe revealed that. Epstein himself was the protege of Robert Maxwell, Israel's most famous spy. He was the best of friends with former IDF intelligence chief Ehud Barak, who was also the prime minister of Barak. He lived on Epstein's property for prolonged periods of times and visited him over 30 times. It spills into all of these issues, Megyn. So it's nice. It's kind of, idealistic if you want to just get away from this. This is the controversial topic that it is important to have a stance on now more than ever before. You just can't get away from it. It's gonna split this, coalition that you have going in half, whether you like it or not. You can try to salvage that, but that's just the truth. That's where America is heading. We're not putting up with the Israel first mentality anymore. It represents a total warping of priorities, and Israel's just the biggest manifestation of that. It's really, favoring the elites over the Americans that have put this presidency into office and put the previous one into office too. Trump's not the only one that's done this sort of, absurd policies on behalf of Israel. But I do want to hear what you have to say. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Megyn, Tucker? Is Tucker right about Israel? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Also subscribe to Megyn Kelly. Great segment. Don't agree with her, on this generally, but she is, a lot better than a lot of Zionists just to have Tucker Carlson. That's enough for a lot of the Zionists to have sincere problems with her, by the way. And if you like this video, please consider joining my channel as a YouTube member. You can do that by clicking the join button below. And if you do that, I'll give you access to all of my videos before they go live to the general public on YouTube. Also, if you want a free copy of my first book, Compact of the Republic, click the link in the description below. It'll shoot you off to a site, plug in your email, and I'll send you a free copy in PDF form. No obligation, no cost, just for you. My gift for free. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.